Hello friends, my name is Dr. Jyoti Prakash and I am Assistant Professor in the Department of Management of School of Management Sciences, Lucknow. Now, today's topic is totally based on the discussion like current trends in education industry, as we all belong to education. So, we should know, and you as a student of service marketing just try to know different elements and the current trends of current trends which are basically adopted by education industries nowadays. So, today's topic or in this particular video lecture, the totally discussion is based on these particular aspects. So, firstly, in this particular slide I have mentioned the justification and the growth ratio of the education sector in India basically. So, India has one of the largest networks of higher education institution in the world. Why it is so? Because education sector in India is expected to reach 180 billion US dollar in financial year 2020, and India's higher education segment is expected to increase to rupees 244,824 crores, means we can say 35.03 billion US dollar by 2025, which somehow shows a growth ratio or a growth factor in this particular education sector. So, somehow we are able to see that, and education firms are able to identify the opportunities because this particular sector is growing day by day. So, they are just trying to invest and they are trying to set up different institutions for their survival and for fulfilling the objective of them whatever they are carrying basically. And India was also ranked 34 among the 100 countries in English Proficiency Index 2019, and increasing internet penetration is expected to help in education delivery, as nowadays we are seeing that various online players are providing education with the help of internet, and now education becomes easier for each one of us. If I want to just get information about a particular topic, there are so many sources from there I can gather information about that particular content. So, somehow it is also a plus point or a positive aspect of that is contributing a lot in the growth of education industry, that is basically increasing internet penetration. And we can say that the country has become the second largest segment in e-learning after US, means now in this particular sector India ranked second, means US is on top and India is on second, India being a developing country and it is ranked on second number. So, somehow it seems a growth factor, and it seems a picture about the educated people or the educated country in front of or in front of the global arena. So, the next thing that should be understood by us, that is all about service marketing mix of education industry. Means suppose if you are a manager which somehow related to education industry, or if you want to establish a business setup that is related to education. So, somehow you should or we can say that you must have knowledge about the different aspect or the different element that you have to work on, that being a service student or being a businessman who want to set up a business in education industry. So, the elements like product, the first element of service marketing mix, means education industry is obviously a service firm, a type of service industry. So, if we talk about service, there are 7 P's that you have to work on, and accordingly just try to understand what things come under the different element of service marketing mix. So, the first element of service marketing mix is what? Obviously, the product. So, what do you mean by, or what things come under product in education industry? So, the tangible product delivered by education industry are various certificates that are issued by the institute itself or the university after the successful completion of the course. Means if you are doing MBA program from a university and then after completion of that particular course, you will get a certificate about the completion of that particular course. That is basically somehow a product aspect, a tangible aspect that gives a meaning that obviously you have purchased that particular course from that institution. So, product is all about the certificates that are issued by either institute or the university from where a student or from where you have obtained or you have done your particular course. And obviously, if we talk about education, it is somehow a type of hybrid service industry, means the tangible aspect is there or the intangible aspect is also available there. So, if we talk about the intangible parts or intangible dominant of education industry is all about the experience and the skill and the knowledge impart by the teachers or impart by the academician to the students, so that they just become eligible to complete that course. Means whatever course the students are basically doing in the in particular industry, in a particular education institute. So, after completion of that particular course, they are eligible, and how they become eligible to get a certificate? By attending the lecture, by hearing the voice or the content or the delivery of the concerned faculty of the subject. So, these are somehow the element come under product. So, if in education industry we see or if we talk about the product, the tangible dominant is obviously the certificates issued by the university and the institutes itself, and if we talk about intangible dominant of education industry, that is all about the knowledge, skills and the experience of different people involved in that particular education institute. The second element of service marketing mix is obviously the price. So, price is determined by a number of factors including reputation of the institution, obviously, because if you want to do MBA or PGDM program from IIM, so obviously that institute is reputed enough, and for that you will have to pay a huge amount for doing a particular course from that particular institution. So, one of the factor is what? The reputation of the institute, the competition, the level of competition. Means if just take an example of an average college, they whatever the services or whatever the curriculum they are providing to the students, other institutes are following the same. So, whatever the prices you are going to charge for that particular course, you have to take care of the strategies or pricing strategy of your competitors that are operating at the same level. So, competition is also one of the factor which somehow help you out in determining the price of your particular course. Service quality, obviously in the previous videos I have explained the service quality measures and dimensions like reliability, assurance, empathy, timeliness and responsiveness. There are various aspects involved in the process of delivery of the product to the customer, to the students in fact. So, how well you are in delivering the service to the students and how they are perceiving, their measurement is also required. So, whatever the quality of your services is being provided to student, as per that you just can take decision regarding the pricing. Placement, obviously if you are giving 100% placement to all the students or you are giving placement to your students, then this particular aspect help you out in setting the price for your product or for your courses that you are offering to the students. Private or public ownership, in fact if we talk about private, then pricing is determined differently, and if one student is taking admission in some public means or the government or organization or a government institution, so accordingly he or she has to pay either high or less prices. So, decision making is totally based on the type of ownership and the form of business, the infrastructure, the facilities, the location of the institute, mode of education, brand name and the brand name of the educational institutes. So, these are some of the factors which help you out or which help the education firms in determining the price for the product or for the courses that they are offering to the students in fact. So, here price reflects the quality of the services provided to the students. Obviously, quality of the services means the overall rater scale we have talked in earlier in the previous classes, like how reliable you are, how means you are giving assurance, you are providing assurance to the students, how quick you are in resolving the queries of the students, and how you are understanding the requirement of the different students. Means whatever the dimension come under the quality or service quality, that you have to work on that, and accordingly you can or you can accordingly set the price of that particular course that you are offering to the students. So, I have mentioned example like price of engineering is around 50,000 to 5 lakh per year. It is totally based on the level of service or the quality of service and the above factors that I have mentioned in the picture, like competition and the placement and reputation. Accordingly, they can charge different prices to different students. Means obviously one of the characteristic of services is obviously variability. So, because why it is so? Because they are the type of services or the delivery of the services and the overall quality of services that they are delivering or they are providing to the students, that vary from one firm to another. So, obviously they can charge different pricing to different students or to different target audience. So, pricing is all about this. Means obviously we can, in totality we can say that whatever the course you are you have adopted in a particular institution, as per that you have to pay price for that particular course. Suppose you are going to one institution for doing BBA and one other student has gone to a particular institute for doing MBA. So, whatever the course he or she has opted, according to that he or she has to pay prices. Obviously, the price of the cost of doing BBA is somehow different from doing the course fee of MBA. So, whatever the course you are being a student you have opted, or the customers are opted, as per that they have to pay price for that. So, price is all about this. The next element is place. Place somehow represents the location where an educational institute has been set up or established, and somehow we can say that it is a service center, because it is giving a picture or it is giving an idea to the students that this particular institute is situated at that particular place. So, if we want to take admission in that particular institute or that college, I have to or we have to go to that particular place. So, we can say that it is somehow similar to a service center of that particular education firm. And if the institute is located at metro cities, it will provide much more competitive edge than if it is located in rural place. So, by seeing this particular line, we can understand that somehow the location or the selection of place matters a lot. Means if you are establishing, being a service firm or being an education firm, if you are going to establish your college or school in metro cities or in some popular cities or in urban areas, so that gives you a competitive edge, or that gives you an value added advantage, because the customers or the students are finding ease in accessing or in going to or in reaching to your particular institute. And if you have established your colleges or your academic institutes far from the city, and people are basically unable to find some transportation facilities or infrastructural facilities, and they find they are not finding ease in accessing. So, somehow it will hamper your overall survival and the existence of your firm. So, while locating or while taking decision regarding this particular element, you have to take care about the easiness and the accessibility of that particular place. So, customer do not find unease in accessing or in locating your institute in fact. So, location also affect the price and promotion activity of that institute. Obviously, if you have established your institute far from the city, so accordingly you have to set low price, because you are not able to attract more and more customer because of not accessibility and because of not nearness to them. You are it means you are providing the services or you are providing the education facility to the students far from the city and they are not finding ease in that. So, obviously, you have to lower down your pricing strategy. So, location somehow affects the price and promotion strategy of the institute. Just like education institute from Mumbai, Delhi, Pune are more prestigious than other institute. Why it is so? Because in these cities they are basically renowned one, and they are very customers are, or students are having information about these cities, and they are just perceived by students that they are good enough and they are prestigious enough, and if they want to do a particular course, they should or they must go to these particular places. So, obviously, plays a very important role in the achieving the objective of the firm, and so you have to pay so much attention while taking decision regarding establishment of the firm at a particular location. The next is what the promotion. In promotion, word of mouth is the most important or most crucial element in spreading the information about your courses or about your services that you are offering to the customers. Like if a student has taken admission in a particular course, and after completion of the course he or she is holding a positive perception or holding satisfaction, so obviously he or she will spread a positive word of mouth to other students, or they will bring more and more students to your educational institute, and vice versa. If they are not satisfied, so accordingly he or she will spread the negative word of mouth to other students. So, obviously, it is one of the most important or the crucial element of promotion. So, the education firm basically should work on the service quality. So, accordingly they are able to satisfy each and every student of that particular firm. So, accordingly they will work like, or they will act like a promotional tool and help the company in spreading positive information or positive image about that institution or that educational firm. In fact, outdoor advertising, the education firm can use, and they can also use advertising, and they can opt either print, electronic and outdoor media, because nowadays we are using like radio, FM, and by traveling, if a student or if a person is driving, so at that time he or she is also getting information through that radio about some educational institute. So, nowadays it is also one of the popular mode adopted by or using by the educational institutes. And direct market is also available, like if you want to take admission in MBA, obviously students must have appeared at IMA exams or the MAT exams, and that data have been shared to all the affiliated or all the associative colleges of IMA. So, accordingly they just dial their number and give information about the courses, about the facilities that the education institute has. So, it is all about direct marketing, means they are giving information to the students with the help of either phone or the messages about the courses, about the benefits, about the placement scenario. So, these are basically some of the elements used by educational firms nowadays. If we talk about people, obviously academic or non-academic staffs. Academic means the faculty, the professors or the guest lecturers, and if we talk about non-teaching staffs like librarian, security guard, and the people related to accounts department. So, these are basically the people who facilitate the education firm in delivering the service. So, under people we can say that in education industry, academic or non-academic staffs are there, which help the education firm in completing or in achieving the objective or in basically fulfilling the promises that they have made to the students. Next is all about process. If you suppose obviously, if you have gone to your college, you have you just you must have follow a particular process, systematic process. Suppose you have to just get through a test and GD and PI, and after that you are able to get admission in a particular course. So, obviously for taking admission in a particular course, every educational institute basically formulated or adopted a particular systematic process. If a student or if a customer want to take admission, he or she has to follow that particular process, and that somehow gives ease factor to the service provider, to the education firms, in fulfilling the promises that they have made to the customers. If we talk about physical evidence is somehow the facilities. We can, in totality, we can say that the facilities, the infrastructural facilities like the building, parking facility, playground, gymnasium, pool, stadium, auditorium, the transportation facility, the classrooms, hostels, their fee receipts, and dress code, books and journals, and these are basically some of the element that come under physical evidence, which somehow gives a sense or gives an idea about that service firm, that which type of service firm is this, because by seeing the classroom and hostel, labs, obviously you must be able to get an idea that this particular service firm is obviously what type of educational institute which will provide certain courses to the students. So, these come under physical evidence. Now, we will have a discussion on current trends in education industry. That is somehow very important, that should be understood by us, that what are the current practices adopted by the education firms or the education industry. Like the first one is blended learning. Blended is somehow a combination of some type of technology or some type of things. So, blended learning, if we talk about it, is somehow a combination of offline and online classroom setting. Nowadays, we are very much able to see, means due to COVID, every education firms are now compelled to adopt or to conduct the classes in online mode, and after completion or after surpass of that particular time period, obviously the offline classroom are also offered by the educational firms. So, it is obviously an interesting mode of study, means if it is possible to then you just bring or you just welcome the students to the classroom, and if it is not possible, you can conduct your class in online mode. So, it is somehow an interesting mode, and it is a flexible mode adopted by the education firms, that is blended learning, means you can provide the learning to the students by using the combination of offline and online combinations. The next one is personalized learning. Personalized is all about giving personal attention to each and every individual. So, learning is basically and being a education firm and being a academician, your purpose is what? To provide some learning to the students or to the concerned customers that have come to your educational institute, in fact. So, and we also know this particular fact that every student or every child is different and unique. So, being an academician, you should understand the need of each and every individual student, and accordingly you just work on that and work on their particular requirements, so that you are able to enhance or you are able to develop the personality or the learning level of each and every student. So, that is all about personalized learning. Franchising in education sector, nowadays basically customers become knowledgeable, and they do not want to send their word and send their students to some institution which are not known to them. So, it is basically one of the opportunity for renowned institutions that they can expand their branches and they can expand their operation with the help of providing or giving franchise to other party, because by doing so the education firms are basically expanding their branches and expanding their facilities and making available it to those individuals or those customers who are unable to reach, in fact. So, by investing or by providing franchising to other parties, they are also they are not only expanding their branches, but also they are able to generate more and more revenues by acting or by doing this particular thing. And if a particular franchisee is established at a particular location, so customers is having an idea, or customer is basically holding a, because customer has holded a positive image or positive perception about that particular institution or that particular firm. So obviously they will send their ward, or they will send their students or children or kid to that particular, like AKtU is a sort of franchisee, and they somehow are able to establish a good image into the mind of the parents. So if AKtU is not available at a particular location, so by taking franchisee or by providing franchisee to other parties, they may available the facilities or the services or the education level of AKtU to that location. And obviously because parents are already knowing and parents are holding the positive image of AKtU, so obviously if the franchisee or if AKtU will be set up at that particular location which was not earlier there, so parents will be feel happy and they will send their student and they will send their kid to that particular school for gaining advantage, or for taking the overall experience of that particular institution. So that is all about franchising in education sector. Flipped classroom. Teaching young brains is basically an art. Children retain more when learning is fun and stress free. Obviously, while doing or while acting, while playing different games or roles, students are very much able to learn a particular concept. So, flipped classroom are one of the means by taking learning outside of the traditional classroom setup always. How it is so? Because students are introduced to content at home and practice working through it at school. Means the teachers nowadays send some sort of content in the form of like YouTube videos or pre-recorded videos, and some sort of notes or PDF to the students. So accordingly they can just work on, or they just practice at their homes, and if they will come to the class on that particular content or on that particular video, they will have a discussion on that. So that makes the classroom or the learning more effective or more interesting in fact. So flipped classroom is obviously one of the most common practices adopted by the education firm nowadays, and it is also one of the interesting mode for introducing a new content to the students. Suppose introducing a new content somehow a teacher faces difficulty in that. So before introducing that, you just give an idea to the students and how it is possible. Obviously you just send, being a teacher, you just send videos and the content earlier to the students. So accordingly they just get through and get an idea about that, and in classroom you just made a discussion on that, and the content or the learning will be more effective. Remote classroom, nowadays education firms are doing, because they are also providing education facilities to those areas or to those students where the education facility is not available. So somehow remote classroom is one of the mode where through which education firm can provide education to the students. The next is professional development of teacher. Earlier teacher was seen as the never ending source of knowledge, and their role was to thorough at the content that they have to deliver in fact. But nowadays the responsibility of a teacher is not limited, because knowledge is what diverse. So time to time the development program of the teachers or the faculties or the professors should also be required, so they are also able to opt or adopt new learning or new technology, so that they just impart information or they just impart knowledge to the students in an interesting mode, because obviously the students the state of students are also changing. So as per their change, the teachers or the professors or the lecturers have to change their practices or the methodology too. So for that different development programs are being conducted by different institutions, and being educational being an academician, you just they should basically go to attend these type of development programs. So, accordingly they just develop the overall methodology or the way of teaching, and accordingly they just give the content or the delivery of the lecture in an interesting mode, and that is basically that becomes a necessary roles and responsibility for teachers in fact. And project based learning, basically teachers nowadays students may learn in this particular way in a very interesting mode, means companies and students are basically combined together and they work on the project, and accordingly by working on a particular topic, on a particular project, they learn the in and out of that particular project and the concept related to that project. That is also an interesting mode of learning. And when STEM becomes STEAM, so now students should not should not focus or relate or limited to science, technology, engineering and math. They should focus on A also. A stands for basically arts, means now they have to just explore in this particular field. So accordingly they just they just made themselves in such a manner, they just prepare themselves in such a manner, so they are able to opt or get a job in diverse field in fact. So now students should focus on STEAM in fact, and these are some of the references that you should go through, and if you want to get an more idea about this particular topic. And that is all in this particular video lecture. Thank you students.